Hello, it's Miss G back with the conclusion of Beowulf. The Fire Dragon. Far famed was Beowulf after that bold venture in the land of the Danes. In many a mead hall the lay was sung, how with mighty grip the hero had slain the hater of men, then afterwards killed the mother of Grendel. And when in after years Hygelac fell in a raid, and his son perished by sword of war, Beowulf came to rule the broad realm. He ruled it wisely for 50 years. Then terror came to the Geats as terror had come to the Danes. In the dark of night, a dragon began to rage. A thief had stolen a goblet from the dragon's golden hoard, and now, for the sin of one, prince and people must pay. Where had that hoard of gold come from? Who had buried it in the stone barrow on the hill? He who had hidden the gold was the last of his clan. He was left all alone to weep for his friends, yet he would not give his gold away, but stored the treasure in the newly made grave of his kin and covered it well. When he too was dead, the dragon came to guard the gold. 300 winters he guarded it, and no man knew it was there. Then the thief came and aroused the dragon's wrath. A desperate man he was, fleeing from his angry lord. He came on the hoard by chance. This goblet, he thought, will win me my pardon. And he stole the vessel and laid it at his prince's feet. The dragon knew when he awoke that a man had been near. He snuffled around the cliff, greedy to find the evildoer, but none was there. He entered the barrow and saw that the cup was gone. He waited, raging, until evening, then flew, folded in flame, to take revenge on the sons of men. The fiend belched fire. The homes of the Geats blazed. All living things in the monster's path were wrapped in flame. Not until dawn did the destroyer return to the barrow. For the last time, Beowulf's own house had gone up in flames. So had the stronghold on the shore. It was heavy sorrow for the old king. I will go forth once more, he said, but wooden shield against fire is worthless. He had his smiths make him a shield all of iron. Then he chose 11 comrades and went to seek the dragon. With them went a 13th man, he who was the cause of all this strife, he who had stolen the cup. He led them straight to the barrow by the sea. The old hero king sat down on the headland. Through many wars have I lived, he said. Now, once again, I will seek to do a mighty deed. I shall not retreat a step from the guardian of this barrow. One fight shall end all. Now, wait for me by the barrow. Wait till the end. The iron shield will stand against the dragon's fire. With this he rose and went beneath the overhanging rock. Soon by the wall he saw a stone arch, and within it a stream boiling hot. That way he could never hope to reach the treasure unharmed. So he raised a shout, and the dragon came rushing to the strife, pouring his poison breath before him. Sword drawn, shield held high, the king stood stoutly awaiting the attack. The blazing serpent guided toward him. Beowulf lifted his arm and struck the foul worm with his weapon. It was a heavy blow, but the edge of the sword was turned. The dragon was wild with pain. He cast fire all about him. He made such din that the men outside fled to the woods in terror. Then once more he closed with his foe and enfolded the hero in flames. But now, through the hideous din, Beowulf heard a voice. "Beowulf, king, fight with all your strength. I come to stand at your side." It was young Wiglaf who spoke. Alone of the chosen comrades, he had dared to go to his chieftain's help. At his words, the dragon attacked. He was mad with rage. The flames flared forth, consuming Wiglaf's wooden shield, but the young thane quickly went under Beowulf's shield of iron, and now again the king struck, a heavier blow than the first, a blow of hate that drove into the dragon's head and shattered the sword. The fiend recoiled. Then, for the third time, he rushed. The poisonous teeth closed on Beowulf's neck, and waves of blood welled from his breast. Wiglaf's arm was burned, but he paid no heed to the loathsome head. Underneath the awful jaws, he drove his gleaming sword, and at once the fire began to lessen and wane. Then Beowulf summoned his failing senses. He drew the dagger he wore on his corselet and with a final effort slit the dragon in two. Death of a hero. For Beowulf, this was the last deed of valor, the last triumph. Already the terrible wound had begun to swell and smart, and soon the pain of poison filled his breast. Stumbling onto the rock wall, he sank down. His henchmen washed away the blood and unlaced his helmet. "Had I a son," Beowulf said, for he knew his wound was mortal, "I would now give him this war gear. 50 winters I have ruled this people. All that time no king dared to wage war on me or threaten me with terror. I waited at home for what fate might bring, took care of what was mine. I sought no feuds. I never falsely swore an oath, and because of these things I die in gladness. Now go quickly, loved Wiglaf, and find that hoard under the rock. I would behold the golden treasure and have joy in the gems. Then I would more easily lay down my life and kingship I have so long held." The warrior went. He saw glittering jewels lying on the ground. By the wall was many a marvelous vessel and weapon. He saw golden bowls and ancient rusty helmets and arm rings wondrously twisted, and over the hoard was a gold-woven banner. Wiglaf burdened his arms with goblets and plates and took also that gold-woven banner. Then he hastily retraced his steps, doubting if he would find his lord alive. The king lay bleeding heavily. He was at the end of his life. His kinsmen splashed him with water again, and Beowulf stared at the sight of all that gold. "For what I behold, I give thanks to God," he said. "Thanks that I have been able to give to my folk such gifts before the day of my death has run out. I have bartered the last of my life for treasure. Now I need tarry no longer. Bid my warriors raise a burial mound for my ashes high on Hrona's headland, that seafarers homeward returning may often hail it and say, 'There is Beowulf's barrow.'" He spoke, and unclasping the golden chain from his neck, gave it to his kinsman, together with breastplate and ring. "Use them in joy," he said. "You are the last of our race. Fate has swept away all the rest of my line. I go now to join them." Beowulf spoke no more, and death flowed over him. And now came the laggards who had fled to the woods. In shame they carried their shields. They gazed on Wiglaf, where he sat trying to revive Beowulf with water, and Wiglaf looked back at them, sad at heart. The king who gave you the armor you stand in, he said, wasted it, threw it away. He had no reason to boast of his friends in the fight. But God gave him the strength to get his revenge alone. It was little I could do to help him, yet I tried. Too few were around him in the hour of need, and now you will lose all he gave you. When lords afar hear of your shameful flight, they will come and take away your treasure and the joy of home and your land. Death is better than life stained by shame. Beowulf's Barrow. All morning long at the stronghold on the cliff, the thanes had sat waiting in sorrow. Would they bewail or welcome home their dear lord? But now all was known. The messenger who had ridden up the headland had returned and told the sorrowful tidings, withholding nothing. The warriors climbed up the cliff. There on the earth was the giver of rings, and Wiglaf keeping a death watch beside him. There the fiery dragon lay, 50 feet long by measure, and there was the treasure. Wiglaf spoke. This hoard is ours, he said, but grievously got. He would not take our counsel, our beloved king, when we urged that he should not grapple with the guardian of gold. He was the noblest warrior the wide earth over. But now, let a bier be made so that we may carry this beloved man to Hronesness, for it is there he commanded we built his barrow. Now, I will show you the way to the treasure. Then Wiglaf chose 7 thanes, the best in the band, to go with him into the cave. They hauled out the treasure, countless it was, and laid the gold on a wagon. The hated dragon they cast over the wall for the waves to take, and the king they bore to Hronesness. To that headland firewood was brought from homesteads near and far, and the Yate folk built Beowulf a funeral pyre. They hung it around with helmets and breastplates. In the midst of the armor they laid the chieftain. Then wood smoke rose on the hill, and fires leaped to the heavens, while weeping mingled with the roar of the flames. There on the headland, in 10 days' time, they fashioned a barrow broad and high. Far out on the water, seafarers could see it. Around the brands of the fire they built a wall, and in that barrow they placed the precious treasure they had taken from the hoard, gold as useless to men now as it was before. Then a band of 12 nobles rode around the barrow, making lament for their king. Of all the kings of earth, he was the mildest and most beloved, to his kin the kindness. Thus they chanted their dirge. Thus the men of Yateland mourned the passing of their hero. The end.